Well, good evening, everyone. This is Alex Kokin calling in from Florida, and I want to welcome you to the Billion Dollar Project webinar, our weekly team webinar. And tonight we have a great guest. She is one of Isagenic's early millionaires and one of our team's best support trainer. And she's also a 6-star Golden Circle Crystal Executive. And she's going to be talking about something that we all need to learn and know, and it's what to do when a brand new person joins our team. And let me introduce her, LeeAnn Jackson. LeeAnn, are you there?
I'm here, Alex. Thank you so much for being here and providing this webinar each and every week. You're amazing that you're here every single week, and I appreciate that. I know the rest of the team does as well. Thank you for the introduction and just everything you do for us. I am very excited to be here tonight. It's a privilege, actually, to be a trainer for the Billion Dollar Project, and there's some great trainers here. Every week there's someone another leader here training. You don't want to miss these webinars. It's great to be here live, listening in, watching the webinar, because I know at least when I am on the webinar, I do take questions at the end of the time that we spend here. So if you do have some questions, fire them off to Alex, and he'll make sure that I get them on the reader board here, and I'll get as many answered as I possibly can before we close the call. So let's talk about what Alex was just introducing, and that is, what do we do with a new associate when they come on board? You know, we work for leads and connections, and we work at networking events to open up doors and connecting with people, and then we work at having them hear all about what we have here based on what they're looking for and their needs. We spend a lot of time doing that, and then finally someone comes along, they're all ears. They're in that looking zone. They're ready. They're looking for the best, and they found it because they found Isagenix. And then we have them move forward. They step forward and they say, "I'm ready to rock and roll." And they share their big goals and their big dreams with us, and we get excited, and we call people and say, "So-and-so just joined our team. I'm so excited because they're fantastic and they're going to be great with this," and everyone is excited, and then all of a sudden it hits you and you get that big gulp or that big lump in your throat, and you go, "Yikes, now what do I do?" You know, maybe you're working a full job, you have children, and you're thinking, "Wow, am I going to have time to train this person? What do I do? Do I get their list first? Do I get their goals first? Should I give them a call? Should I do a three-way? Should I take them to the how to get going? What do I do first?" And then you get overwhelmed. And if that's happening to you, it's going to happen to them. So this call or this webinar is all about how to avoid those feelings and get on to better things. And I'm trying to get on to the next slide, and it's not wanting to go. Let's see. Well,
You might have to just click on your screen and now try the arrow.
There we go. Isn't it great to have support? Isn't it great to have a team with people that know things you don't know? That's a part of what happens here. And it happens every time I do this webinar, and I thank God for Alex. 3 miles into your journey, when you're traveling with children, they want to know, are we there yet? You're going from New York to Disney World. That's about 1,300 miles. And they want to know, after the first 3 miles, are we there yet? And then the next 3 miles, well, are we there now? And then another 3 miles, and they're like, "Well, when are we going to be there, Mom? When are we going to get there?" They're excited. They have a whole vision of what's going to be there when they get there, and they want to be there right now. And then they start kicking and screaming and crying and fighting, and you're like, why did I ever decide to take this trip. Now, if you've never felt like that as a network marketer, you haven't lived yet, because we all feel like that sometimes, because we've got this newbie, this brand new baby that's in a hurry. Well, we want them to be in a hurry, but we also want them to understand this, that it's a journey. And life itself is a journey, not a destination, as Ralph Waldo Emerson reminds us. We do help people to put their goals into action, to put their dreams into a reality. It is a journey, and it starts with education. The journey starts with educating, and then we grow. So we go from education to grow. We learn and we grow. And then what happens is we teach what we've learned and how we've grown, and then we teach. Learn, grow, and teach. The money, well, the money just happens. The money will happen. Don't focus on the money part of it. Trust me, it'll happen by itself. You want to focus on learning, growing, and teaching. And celebrating. Celebrating is the fun part of it. You want to make sure that this cycle is complete. And without celebration, it would never be complete. That celebration is a part of your life. And you celebrate with yourself, with your friends, with your family, with your team, with everyone that's been involved with the success of your life. And this is not just about Isagenix. This is about everything. Learn, grow from that learning, teach what you've learned from your growth. The money will come, and then celebrate. And that is the cycle. So now what does that look like in terms of Isagenix? When you have a new baby come along, and every person that joins Isagenix starts out as a baby, whether they've been in the industry for 1,000,001 years or they've never done this before, they're a new baby. You want to treat them that way. Not like a child, like a new Isagenix baby. In other words, start from the beginning with them. And the first thing they're going to want to do is find out how they're going to juggle their world to make this happen. So we spend the first 2 weeks of hands-on coaching, mentoring, teaching our new babies. And the first part of that process is to set the dates of which you will spend that 2 weeks. Why it's important to set those dates is you're going to give them more time than anybody else during those 2 weeks. You're going to set aside as much as you possibly can to focus on them. You're giving them close to undivided attention, as close as you can possibly get, and still be supportive to the rest of your team. So you need to be specific with the dates. What dates are going to work with them and you? We all want to start right away, but if they're about to get married next week, or they're about to go on a cruise next week and they signed up today, their enrollment was today, but they're really not going to be ready, then don't put the date today. Put it for when they return, when it's going to work with their schedule, okay? And then we agree. They agree with you, you agree with them on those dates. These are the dates. So we're going to promise each other we're not going to let anything get in the way during these 2 weeks. We're going to work together in concert to make this happen as a team, as a support. It's their race that they're running, but they're going to need someone helping them, supporting them along the way. That's you, and that's why you must agree to the commitment just as much as they must agree to the commitment. And then respect the parameters of that commitment. Parameters could be this person is working a full-time job. Some people are working a time-and-a-half job, okay? Their parameters may be, well, I can only do it during these certain hours. You're going to need to work within those hours. You need to work and respect each other's parameters. Now, if you have a team call at, Wednesday morning at 9 a.m., obviously they're going to have to respect that parameter because you're going to be working with other people during that time. So you need to respect each other's parameters. So set the dates when you're going to start this 2 weeks of hands-on focus. Agree that you're going to do this together, and those 2 weeks are going to be first and foremost. And number 3, respect the parameters that each of you bring to the table. And this is where it begins. It's all about teaching. We've talked about teaching and growing rich. That's the whole deal in a nutshell, if you will. The first thing we want to teach is survival. If your new baby doesn't survive, nothing else matters. Nothing else in life matters if we can't survive. That is why when we're on the plane, the flight attendant will always say, if these oxygen masks come down, put it on your face first, because you have to survive to go to the next step. So survival is the most important thing. And in terms of isogenic, survival is all about belief. We're going to break this down further. I just wanted you to get the visual of the 3 components that you're going to be focusing on during these 2 weeks. And the first, again, is survival. The second is direction. If you look at the map here, it's a treasure map. The treasure map is all about getting there, the way we're going to do this, the daily do's and sometimes don'ts, okay? This is their map. You can't go anywhere without a direction, whether you're flying, you're in a boat, you're in a car, or you're walking. It doesn't matter. You need to know where we're going, okay? And then the last component is the sources of fuel, or the tools. Now, if you look in this picture, you'll see there's regular plus, and premium plus. Premium plus is what I choose to fuel my ship with, and that's what this team does. That's what the BDP is. The BDP and the tools that we have here is the premium plus tools, and you want to teach your new partner all about that. You also want them to be well aware that once they get to consultant and then 5-star and then executive, they're going to want to go on to bigger and better things, because if their goal is $1,000 a week or $10,000 a week or $1 million a year or more, they're going to be continuing to learn, grow, and teach. But we don't want them landing in between on this journey. We want them to stay flying high, so help them to understand they don't have to land to refuel. That is what this team is about. That is what the tools are about. Stay up there. We're here to continue to refuel. That's what these webinars are about. They're about that refueling process, and you do it in the air. Okay, so here's our flight checklist, if you will, but it's a basic list, okay? We could spend probably a full Saturday training on all of the things that we'd want to go over in this basic, in the checklist, that you would spend 2 weeks going over with your new partner. These are the basics that you never want to forget. So I've started you out here. You need to expand this. Everyone on this call knows enough how to expand this. And if you don't, go back and watch the webinars. Go back to the trainings, and it's all there. But here's the basic checklist. Number 1, again, the survival. How do we provide survival? Well, if you look in this picture, here's this beautiful little baby. Now, I don't think there's anyone on this call that would let that baby drown. Now, I can't hear you guys, but I would bet everything I own, and I own some pretty cool stuff, I would bet everything I own that there's not one person on this webinar tonight that would let that baby drown. Don't let your new partner baby drown either. And the way we do this is, instead of putting this ring around them, we put a ring of support around them, product testimonials, business testimonials. Show them where they are. Share them with them. the power of stories versus selling. Teach them the power of stories and how much stronger and successful stories are versus selling. Because someone's going to come to that new baby and try and crash their parade, try and crash their jet or their race car, whatever vehicle they're in their head to win this race. And when they do, we can either allow them to stick up for that which they have chosen to do, and if they're not strong, they will lose, or teach them how to tell stories. Because when someone comes at you with something negative, if you return with a great story, you're going to reinforce your decision for yourself, and you're going to totally interrupt their pattern of thought, and you may find your best new partner right in front of you. Teach them the power of stories. Show them where the books on network marketing are. There's so many of them. You know them. Gift them one. They're worth it. Trust me. Invest in your new partner. Give them a book on network marketing that shows them the value of it. I mean, one that comes to mind very quickly, there's so many of them, but one is the Donald Trump and Robert Kiyosaki book, Why Network Marketing? Why network marketing? Why it's such a powerful vehicle. Introduce them to your upline. We have a phenomenal upline, by the way, and a very approachable one. You all can three-way your new partners into calls with myself, with George Ruiz, with Alex, with Tracy Larson, with Adrian, with Jimmy Smith, with Carol Taylor, with Renata Lee. You can do that. We're a very open team. We want to help our team members. Sometimes you might have to call a few times to get that call done, but you will have a willing team to do it with you. So connect them to your upline. Connect them to an event. Get them going to events that you know are great events, and surround them with team as much as you can. You know, you don't have to be in the same room to be surrounded by team. I'm looking at the list of people on this call here tonight. You are all surrounded by team right now. And you're surrounded by leadership and team. You're surrounded by people that care about your future, that care about your goals. Surround them with team. That's the basic survival kit. The second is the directions. Well, what are the directions? Well, the directions start with goal setting. I can't help my new baby get to where they want to get to if I don't know where the heck they want to go. They don't want to go the same place I do. You know, even if they say, I want to, you know, most of you know, my goal is $1 million a year, period, end of report. Not a dollar less, not a dollar more. Very simple. $1 million a year, passive income. Okay? Great, LeeAnn. But someone else may have the same financial goal, but what they want to do with it is totally different. You cannot motivate a person with a dollar amount if it is not attached to a dream. Because money is worthless if it's not attached to a dream. It's just paper. You've got to know what those dreams are. So the directions come in the goal setting. And believe me, the reason comes first. The answer comes second. The reasons people are here come first. The answer is isogenics. The reason brought them here. And then help them create a vision board if they don't have one. Then the daily to-do list for the first 90 days. You want to help them create a list of things that, in whatever their time parameters are, they know what to be doing to make this happen. The first 90 days is going to be slightly different than once they get to executive. They're going to be doing a few things differently. Many things the same, but a few things differently. So the first 90 days is a very definite list of do this, okay? And then set times that you can make sure you're available for them absolutely for three-way calls. Whatever that time is that works, again, in respect for their parameters and yours. Make sure you make yourself available for those three-way calls. It's essential. And then leave them with the direction of the new associate training. They need to be going to howtogetgoing.com and going through that new associate training. That piece is their continued education. And remember what we talked about couple, I would say maybe 2 webinars ago that I offered. We talked about the fact that when you are teaching yourself something, you are way ahead of being told how to do something. When you teach it to someone else, you are light years ahead. And that goes back to our initial conversation here, and starting with the knowledge, going to the growth, and then teaching. And then the last piece is fueling them up. Now, there's a lot of different ways to look at fuel. And again, we could spend a whole Saturday on all of this. But again, we want to go through the basics with a brand new partner. So the basics for fueling up a brand new partner is showing them the tools in the toolbox. Because if they don't know they're there, they can't use them. Howtogetgoing.com should be the first tool everyone sees. Show them around and then let them explore. The Isagenix back office, they need to understand their back office. Show them around and let them explore. The ISA sales tools, show them around, then let them explore. Webinars, team calls, and events. Excuse me. Fuel them up with the tools that are in the toolbox, and they will never be looking outside of those tools. They'll never get confused with a tool that doesn't work if we always have the tools in front of them that we know for a fact work. And then make it simple. They need to feel like this. When someone joins your team, they're that little kitty there, that new baby. You just want to say very simply, follow me, kid. I'll teach you the ropes. They need to know you can do that. And when you promise them that 2 weeks and you tell them, I'll teach you the ropes, they're going to come in. They're going to come in with comfort, and they're going to have comfort bringing people on board their new team. And that, my friends, I should say, is the nutshell of starting out a new associate. So I want to kind of go around the table. If you have a question, email it right now. We'll get it answered. And if we have no questions, we're going to close the call.
Well, thank you so much, LeeAnn. It was a great presentation, and it's a great exposure of all the basics. And I really love that analogy of when you take a long trip, and the kids are always asking, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" And if we don't tell them in advance how long it's gonna take, that might that question might come up too often. Now, I'm trying to get here, by the way, everybody that wants to have a question for LeeAnn, you can type it into your GoToWebinar control panel on the right-hand side of your screen in the questions tab. And so far, all we're getting right now is congratulations, LeeAnn, a great webinar. Thank you. Fantastic. And that kind of comments. So if anybody has a question, go ahead and type that in. And Tracy, I don't know if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to add.
No, I really like the way LeeAnn's told it. If you give them the expectation, then it's a whole lot easier for them to follow than if you just a lot of people just lead their people down a blind track, and they're always upset because they're not. But I don't want to take away from what she said. She's done a great job.
And actually, LeeAnn, we have a great question, I think, actually, from Deb Youngkin, and she asks whether with our new partners that have just joined, sometimes we have people that actually join online, should we expect them to call us or should we call them?
When we first bring on a new baby, they don't know the rules. We need to teach them. In everything that we do, we are teaching our new baby. So we need to make that first call. We need to make the appointment to get into this whole process. When we make that commitment for the 2 weeks training, once that is done, then yes, they should be calling you. You should be making yourself available as you promised you would, and then it is their opportunity to show themselves as the leader that they want to be by calling you and following through.
Great, thank you. And we have one more question from Susanna Giraud. And she asks, at the end of the 2 weeks, what type of follow-up do you give?
Well, the end of the 2 weeks is going to be different for everyone. It's a great question, both great questions, by the way. The end of the 2 weeks is going to be different for different people because some people are going to need a lot closer attention than others. If you've got someone with a lot of experience, you still want to spend those 2 weeks, but after those 2 weeks, they're going to want to be flying a lot on their own. Just like anyone in our organization, on our team, we will always continue to support everyone who raises their hand and says, I need help with this, or I need you to be there for that, I need a 3-way phone call. These are all the things that we do as a support group. I liken it to the pit crew of a race car, or the people cheering you on if you're in a marathon. There's people there making sure you get what you need. That's what we do as a team. But there are people that after 2 weeks, they're going to need some additional help. You're going to give that to them. But that 2 weeks is a very precious time. And what makes it super valuable when you present it to people and let them know that 2 weeks is your 2 weeks. After that 2 weeks, you're on the rest of the team. It's kind of like making those 2 spots available to them when you first open up your business center. Those first 2 spots doesn't mean you can't join later, but those first 2 spots are my most valuable real estate. And you need to understand that you are super blessed that I'm offering you a position in my first 2 spots. Same thing with the first 2 weeks.
Well, that's definitely great. And I just wanted to point out that one of the things that comes to mind when actually having, starting to grow a team, and for example, you, George, Jimmy Smith, Renata Lee, Carol Taylor, Tracy, Adrian, all of us have groups that are in the thousands. And from my own experience with my team support, I cannot return everybody's phone calls timely and so on. And one thing that I have noticed that works better for me and for some of the other leaders is actually when people try to contact you either by email or by text messaging. So that way, if I am on a conference call or a 3-way call, one of the leaders is on a conference call or a 3-way call, they don't have to wait actually until after the call to check their messages. They can actually, during the call, sometimes even text and say, look, I'm not available. Why don't you try so-and-so? So I just wanted to throw that in about...
Great point, Alex. Very great point. We do have thousands and thousands of people in our organization, and that is also what lends so much value to the 2 weeks. I mean, as leaders, we're always sponsoring new folks into the organization, and they need to understand that we do have thousands of people, and they are still getting that 2-week commitment from us. There's such a value added, and you don't have to have thousands of people for it to be valuable. Don't get me wrong. However, when people realize that you have an organization that's growing, they realize the value of those 2 weeks. And text messaging is a blessing for sure to be able to get through, whether it's during the 2 weeks that you're working with someone or later on with the rest of your team. It is a very valuable tool. Thank you for bringing that out.
Well, you're welcome. And I don't see any further questions here. Okay, go ahead, Tracy.
I would just say with that, any new person has to realize the value of these webinars and the tools that are in place, because when you can't get to them, they still have a connection with the company. If a leader's gone to the Indy 500 or whatever the case is, they still have a connection here if they'll hook into our tools.
Yeah,
that's right. Thank you, Tracy. I mean, that is the beauty of the team. There's always someone here, and that is why it's important to connect our new partners to Upline, as we talked about a few slides ago. So they now know they've had a connection with someone else on that team, other leaders on that team, because none of us can be here 24/7. I can't imagine who would go up to the Indy 500, but other than that,
Well, by the way, we're getting to the top of the hour, so we're going to be cut off here shortly. But I do want to point out that even when a leader does go to the Indy 500, in this case, it was LeeAnn, who has great connections there and gets pit tickets. And, we envy you, LeeAnn. But she learned a great story that involves some of the top stars of the Indy 500, and I would urge you to go to the How to Get Going site and listen to the call that LeeAnn did this morning, previewing this webinar. Towards the end, she has a fantastic story about the top performers in that race. And I think that's a valuable lesson that we can all learn from that particular story. So thank you, LeeAnn, for that story. Thank you, Tracy, for your input. Thank you for all of you for joining us tonight. Thank you to those that sent their comments and questions. You can also comment or ask questions on this post at the howtogetgoing.com. Tomorrow we'll be having the webinar recording on there. So I look forward.
Alex,
Go ahead.
I got one more thing to say. All day long I've had something in my mind, and I would like LeeAnn to repeat what she said that Andretti said. I love that. I thought about it all day long. Do you recall, LeeAnn?
Yeah, I know exactly. It was Marco Andretti, Mario Andretti's grandson, Michael Andretti's son. I think everyone's heard of Mario Andretti. And he said, if you're in it, you can win it. You have to be in it to win it.
Perfect.
And that is the truth of anything in this life. You can't win it if you're not in it, but when you're in it, you can win it. And just know that. And that is, to me, is the most... You're right, Tracy. Thank you for bringing that out, because it's so exciting. And when you wake up in the morning, are you in it or not? What are you focusing on? This is a whole other training. You better shut me up now. But, ask yourself when you get up in the morning tomorrow, everyone here, and what a great group of people here. And I want to just say, every one of you, you're a leader. That's why you're here. And I just want to honor that. When you get up in the morning, look in the mirror and ask yourself, are you in it? And if the answer is yes, then you can win it.
Same goes when you're talking to a prospect and you say, absolutely, you cannot win it if you don't at least get in it.
Well, that...
sit on the sideline and see if you can make some extra money. Get better health.
Well, we definitely are all in it, and we are getting confirmation from the people that are on the webinar live. They're saying, I'm in it. And just one more thing before we go. Daniel had a question for you, LeeAnn, and I'm going to forward that via email to you. And
Okay.
Daniel, I'm just forwarding that to LeeAnn in a little while, so she'll answer you. So again, we're getting near the end of our recording time here. So thank you all for your participation. Thank you, LeeAnn, and look forward to seeing you all next Monday on the next conference call and the next Billion Dollar Project team weekly webinar. Good night,
Thanks,
everyone.
everybody. Go teach them the ropes.